Have you ever thought to yourself, I would really love to own my own business, but you're thinking, I don't have the time. I don't even know where to start. I'm a mother. I have kids. I have a life. I have a husband. This show is all about women in business, the 8 ways that you as women can have your own business right after this. What is mindset? Our mindset is based on what we believe, and anything we believe in, we put into motion. I have spent my life putting the mindset of perseverance into motion, and now I am here today to share my journey along with others whose mindsets have changed the course of their lives. Hi, I'm mindset coach Lorraine Lindsey, and I believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. So are you ready? So welcome back to another episode of The Mindsetters, where we believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. This is the month of October, which is breast cancer awareness. And so today I want to do a show with a panel of women who are entrepreneurs and talk to the ladies out there about what it takes to become an entrepreneur as a woman. Now, this show doesn't negate the men, so you can certainly watch the show. The tips apply to everybody, but we want to put a little bit of love and emphasis on the women today. I am your host, Coach Lorraine Lindsey. I am a certified mindset coach, peak performance coach, and a business coach, but most importantly, a mindset coach. You can reach me at LorraineLindsey.com or CoachLorraineLindsey.com if you would like to set up sessions or come to one of my workshops. I have some workshops in the making. Before we get started, do not forget to hit the subscription button. We love to hear from you. We are growing and expanding, and I'm so grateful for all of your support. So again, if you like the content and what we're talking about, do not forget to give us a thumbs up, give us your comments, and subscribe. So a couple of little announcements here. I am running for fabulous over 40. I can't believe I'm over 40. But my sister was great enough to delegate me for this task. So I am looking for votes. And again, like I said, this is October breast cancer awareness. If you decide to donate, the money does go to breast cancer charities. You do not have to donate, of course, but we encourage it because it is for a good cause. Moving forward, I do have a mindset workshop coming up November 10th. Just a little bit about mindset and self-love. What is your belief system? What are you believing for yourself? And it's a great workshop if you are looking to get into business. Sometimes we are stuck and we don't know how to get to the next level. And it's all about tapping into that mindset. What are you believing for yourself and how do you get to the next level? All right, so without further ado, let me introduce my wonderful ladies that are on the panel today to talk about women in business. Each one of these ladies has a business of their own. And so they're going to talk from personal experience, the struggles, the emotions, and we have some great talking points that I got, which I'll reference at the end of the show. And then some good reads actually for people out there who are looking to start businesses. So my first guest is first time on our show. This is Miss Ebony Cleveland. Ebony owns a company by the name of SAS Production. And a little bit about Ebony. Ebony Cleveland is the owner of event management company, SAS Productions LLC, which plans events that cater to women and children. She has held many professional positions from electrical engineer, program manager, and now CEO of her own company. Ebony loves volunteering with several nonprofit organizations, as well as being a member of many women-based organizations. She enjoys hanging with her friends and family, but thoroughly appreciates quality time by herself. I can attest to that, yes. Her greatest accomplishment is having the opportunity to raise 2 wonderful children, a girl and a boy, right? So Ebony, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm so happy to have you. I know you're very, very busy. Yeah. She has an event coming up here, which is something that's near and dear to her heart. Her sister and her mother were survivors of breast cancer.
Correct.
And so every year she does an event, a wonderful event, which it has sold out, everybody, but it's creating memory soiree. It's going to be manicures, makeup, massages, just treating women who are suffering from breast cancer or survivors of breast cancer. Again, the proceeds will go to Las Vegas Breast Cancer Warriors. And just, I really think this is such a great event. I had the privilege of going last year. What an unbelievable turnout to hear people's stories, their testimonies, their courage. So thank you for doing events like that. I know you're very busy, but I know this one is near and dear to your heart.
Absolutely.
So, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go on. Moving on, we've got Miss Carmen Smith, one of our reoccurring guests, part of the Lipstick Lady crew. Carmen Smith is a local realtor here in the Las Vegas Valley, but she's also an entrepreneur. She has her own skincare line called Gia Carol at Etsy. So if you guys are looking for some great skincare that is totally organic and natural, Carmen, you want to say a little bit about it?
Just look at the results.
She's glowing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Is not only is she selling the
I wear
product,
no makeup, by the way.
but she doesn't wear makeup. She's totally natural. She doesn't do all the stuff that I like to do, like dot my forehead so I don't crunch a face, make an angry face. But she tries the stuff on herself first, and she makes sure that the products are working. And she has some great before and after. So if you are interested in getting her product, it's Gia Carol, KHAROL at Etsy. So go to Etsy and you can find it there. Now we have the fabulous Miss Charlene Ruiz, who is a local lender here in the Las Vegas Valley, over 20 years of lending services, but she is also a fitness coach, and she lives and breathes fitness. She understands that the issues are in the tissues, right?
That's right.
And her company is called Your Time to Be Fit Coaching. And I wanted to just tell them a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, just to kind of, since we're on the topic of entrepreneurship and business, one of the things I really believe, a business plan without a fitness plan is an incomplete business. So we got to include that body, mind, spirit, all of that to have full success.
Absolutely. All right, ladies. So as you can see, we have some qualified ladies to talk about what it's like to have a business, whether it be big or small. And I think we've all had those type of dreams, but the thought of it can be very daunting and overwhelming. And so let's talk today about some of the qualities that are required in order for you to actually have a successful, thriving business, because it does ultimately start with you, right? So 8 qualities for women in business. Number 1, integrity. To me, this is the most important, right? Adhering to ethical or moral principles and keeping your word is foundational to effective leadership. In addition, it builds valuable trust with people, from the employees you lead to the investors and partners you bring to customers you serve. So, Ebony, why do you feel like, because you started, well, first of all, let's talk about how you started SAS Production, because you had a career, you were a career woman.
Yep.
And you somewhat, I assume you burned the boats. I just did that recently, and we talked about that over the phone. But what made you go into SAS Production, and how important was the integrity with your business?
Sure. So I wanted to do something that I enjoyed, because I definitely wasn't enjoying what I was doing in the corporate America. But wanted to do something I enjoy, and then also something that, others could enjoy, and something where I can make an impact on others. So every time I have an event, I partner with a nonprofit organization. We give back. We invite tons of local vendors to come, and so that they can expand their business and meet other people. So it's just a time for people, mainly women. We do a lot of events for women and children, but to come and just release and then have some time to themselves, meet other people, network, and have a good time. And integrity is huge, because you're out there, you're building relationships, you're building rapport. People, people talk, so if you're out there and you're not following up on your word, or you're not putting out great quality services, or events that people can come to, then it gets around, it gets back, and then there goes your business. So integrity is huge also, because it just shows that you have morals,
Right.
and that you stand behind the products and the services that you put out there. And so I just think that is the foundation of any business.
Absolutely. I love that. How do you feel about that, Charlene?
Spot on. Spot on. Everything. Integrity it's a character trait. It's inside of you. You got it. You got to live it. For sure.
And I think it's also measuring the level of standard that you have for yourself. And because when you're starting a business, it's your baby, right? It starts off as your baby. And you look at that as like, how would I nurture that baby? And that integrity has to do with what your moral compass is. What do you want that to look like? How do you want people to receive and feel and engage with that business? It's about tapping into the essence of who you are.
Right.
Like with me, with coaching, it's like, well, why did I choose mindset? How did I get to that point? Well, because that was the path that I took for myself first. And I stand by that integrally. And so when I say I'm a mindset person, I have to march to the order of that in order for my product and my services to be tangible and true for other people. So integrity has to be kind of at the forefront of you running a business. Were you going to say, Carmen?
I was just going to say similar to that, and then just how you show up for your clients, for people, how you present yourself. All that goes with integrity.
I don't know if we have a point in there about, you know, not believing in yourself, but believing in yourself kind of like, because I'm not there yet, I'm out of my integrity if I try to, you know, perform a certain business. There's a imposter syndrome. Do you have anything about that in there?
No,
yeah,
but
yeah,
that's
yeah.
we could talk about
Okay,
that.
well, just,
That's
you know,
good.
to that point, I've been a lender for many, many years. I found fitness after that for my own self for many reasons. But for a long time, the people in my lending world didn't know about my fitness world, and people in my fitness world didn't know about my lending world, because I thought if I told them I did too much, I wasn't good at anything. But the truth is, once I merged them together, my business just took off in every aspect, because you need that overall to be to be your best in business and to be in integrity. So once I could merge those two things together, my life and my business changed. So in any aspect, because we don't know what we're going to be in life until we start living life, and then we kind of follow that path. And even if we think we know, we go to school, we follow that career, look, we fall into something else that we feel passionate about. So to that point, I just thought when you were saying that, that
That's
just came to
actually
my
really
mind.
good.
Yeah.
The imposter
Yeah.
syndrome is a big thing, because I know for myself, and I'm sure you ladies can, you know, speak to it on your own too, is like having this dream and this idea of something you want to do and not yet feeling like you're good enough. And I think a lot of times for people who don't start their businesses, they're the technician first, right? They have the skill set to maybe do something that's kind of pulling at them. And I believe that that's why most people start a business, is there's an idea that they feel like they can do, but then they worry like, well, what if people think I'm a fraud, or they think that I'm no good, or well, if I'm not good enough? And so you start to create those limiting beliefs in your mind because you're afraid that you're not good enough. And I can tell you that I've had a lot of fail start and not finishes in my life because of that imposter syndrome, you know, and that whole thing where what's that buzz thing, fake it till you make it. I especially being a coach, okay, and wanting to do life coaching and things like that, and feeling like my life was falling apart and I didn't have it all together. Well, who am I to coach someone? But then I, you know, like Dr. Maya Angelou says, to teach is to learn.
Amen.
And so when you start to walk in the essence of who you are and what you feel is a pull in your life, it causes you to kind of stand up a little bit more. And it goes back to the integrity. If I'm going to talk about this thing or do the things, I'm going to pair with nonprofits like you, Ebony, I got to stand behind that and make sure that that work is integral, and that I'm good. You just got to believe it.
I think I'm where I'm at in my life. Like, I just retired from the beauty industry for 23 years, and it's like I can't stay away from it. That's part of the skincare thing. And I'm like, okay, I just have to be creative. I have to accept that about myself, of what I love to do. And then it's like, I want to do this and I want to do that. And right now I'm like at a place where everything I want to do in life has to be purpose driven, or, you know, what I'm passionate about. I don't want to waste time doing things, but I have that like self-doubt and things with, you know, like, how am I really going to make this grow, or how am I really going to be? Because I've been conditioned to have a job behind the chair for 23 years, and now venturing out into new spaces that I'm not used to being in. So that insecurity is probably at the forefront more so than it's ever been in my life now.
Yeah.
No
Because
challenge.
there's
to
vulnerability.
Being a
change.
little older, you know,
Yeah.
like my hustle's not as strong as it used to be. So it's a constant
Battle.
Yeah.
How did you feel, like, Ebony, for you, that you were able to overcome that? Because you've walked away from the corporate America world, like I just did recently, but you've done it for longer. And what was it that finally pushed you through and past that, those mindset, those limiting things, like, am I going to be good enough? And did you feel that way?
Right. I'm still transitioning. I'm almost done with the corporate world, but you know, it just comes a point in time where it's you're thinking like, it has to be more out there for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not living in my purpose. I feel like a robot, just going to work, doing the same thing, coming back home, doing the same thing. So I was like, I want to do something that wakes me up, that I wake up and I'm ready to go do, and I'm enjoying doing, and it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
And it
This-
can support your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And support. Yes, that's definitely needed. But I just want to do something that I was going to be excited about. I wanted to live again.
Yeah.
You know, I think especially, I don't know if it's like after the pandemic and everyone kind of taking a pause in life, or because there's a lot of burnout out there right now. We hear people talking about all the time. Quiet quitting is a buzz thing that's going on right now. I can actually relate to that, where you just go into your job and you just kind of do what's required of you, but you don't push yourself any longer because you're just kind of tapped out. And, you know, really feeling like there is something I know, especially when you have a knowing of what it is you want to do. And really it's daunting. It could be very daunting. It could be very overwhelming because you're like, well, how do I do it? How do I start? And how do I monetize this thing? You know, and I talked about it last week on the show about Oprah saying, what's that one thing you would do for free? We all have that thing in us that we would do for free, but it's a matter of being able to monetize it and to be able to get people to pay for it without feeling bad. Because when you would do it for free, you almost sometimes feel guilty for charging. And so it's about overcoming those hurdles. So I want to go to the next PowerPoint real quick. And that is humility and a willingness to learn. Entrepreneurs is a lifelong process, and savvy businesswomen understand that. The business world changes so fast that you can be innovation today and be obsolete tomorrow. Successful women entrepreneurs keep learning and studying so they can adapt to the ever-changing trends swiftly. They humble themselves and learn when the opportunities arise. Okay, so this is a really, really big thing for me. And this is something that I've actually seen a lot of people where they've failed in business, is not having the humility to say, I don't know. A lot of people, whether you're an entrepreneur, like as a realtor, or whether as a lender, or let's say you're a beautician and you want to go and start your own salon, having the ability to say, okay, this part of this business, I don't know yet. And a lot of people get trapped because they want everybody to think that they've got it together. And there's a great book, which I reference at the end of the show. It's called The E-Myth, and it stands for the entrepreneurial myth. It's a great read. And it talks about the 3 types of people that are encompassing one, which is the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. And each person is within us. And so often when we start a business, we're trying to be all 3 things. But having the ability to say, okay, I'm going to be the entrepreneur and I can dream the thing, but I'm going to need a person to manage it because I cannot. Or I am the technician, so I know how to do the skill, but I need to learn how to be able to delegate and teach that skill. And having the humility to say at certain parts in that process, I don't know what I'm doing. And, and it's hard sometimes because we always, especially as women, when we go and we venture out and we try to do something that we feel is going to be we're going to go out there and be in the world. There's so much for us in our mind that we have to prove. And sometimes when we don't have it all together, to ourselves and to everybody else. What do you mean you're going to leave your corporate job? Or what do you mean you're going to, you got kids to take care of? What about your husband? What do you mean you're going to pursue this business? Because it's going to take work. Don't you think your family this and that and naysayers? And, you get all of everybody coming at you every which way. And so when you hit those stumbling blocks, sometimes your pride doesn't want to say, I don't know, or I need help. And also, too, when we band together with other people, and especially when we're surrounding ourselves with people who are level up people, sometimes we want to make that level up person think we got it all together, that we don't know how to say, hey, you're there, I'm here, can you teach me something? We're always trying to prove ourselves. Does that, I'm rambling.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Well, what do you think, Ebony? You're like, I see you nodding your head. Well, how do you feel about that?
I resonate with everything that you said. I had a lot of birds, still have a lot of birds chirping, giving their opinions, their unsolicited opinions most of the time. But then you have some that are really concerned. Like my mom was like, oh, you have a great job and a great income and the kids. And, so you hear both sides, but then in your heart, there's something that's really pulling you and it keeps pulling you. And I think that that's the way you should start to go. And as far as feeling like, you need to validate something, I say get a mentor, get someone who has done what you're trying to do, or even if they're in another industry, someone who has the skill set and the mindset and wants to help and teach you. Find someone that you can lean on, and then you'll feel comfortable talking to that person about some things that you feel like you're inadequate at.
Absolutely. Success leaves clues.
Absolutely.
And what I have found in my career path is that usually, and not always, but usually people who are very successful and they're doing their thing, they love to teach it. You just have to approach it. They don't want, you can't be like a pest and like whatever, but maybe sometimes you do, but you go to the person with humility, like this slide said, and say, listen, I see what you're doing. I admire what you're doing, and I'm interested in that. Can you give me some nuggets? I'm always asking questions. And then also too is you have to get into the habit of learning. If there is something that you really want to build and develop, educate yourself, immerse yourself in books, find things, tutorials to watch, find mentorships. You have to really like build that. When I decided I was going to be a coach, I couldn't just stop in one coaching program.
No.
You know, oh, everybody likes to talk to me, so now I'm going to become a coach.
And you couldn't quit your job right away
And
either.
I definitely couldn't.
Right.
This has been. I started my coaching program in 2014. I burned the boats this year, a couple weeks ago.
Awesome.
Right. But then what happened for me was there had to have finally been a compelling why. I always had the pull, but the compelling why changed it from I need to do this business, I would like to do this business, to I must do this. And when it turned into a must and the compelling why was significant enough for me, then it was about planning provision so I could walk away. But, and trust me, I'm scared. There are moments when I'm like, what am I doing? But I put myself in a position that I have no choice but to succeed. I am not at liberty any longer to fail.
And you have confidence to know if something to shift, you're equipped. You can go out there and find a way to make money if you needed to, but it's going to succeed because you have it and you've done the work and you're doing the work to continue that. And what I'm hearing from you also, you're exiting where you're at, but you're also being responsible to your transitions, which I think we all need to have a reserve or have something. Because I mean, to a conversation we've had before, some people jump right in and it works. But some people can't jump right in and it works, you know? So that's just understanding where we are in our life and how it makes sense for us in our livelihood and our family and our responsibilities to do so. I've always done multiple things. I've never been a one way to make money type of person. And everything I choose to do is because I'm passionate about and I believe in it. So I want to serve on what I believe because it's what I believe to be true. But I'm always learning too. So if you can follow that course of life and help others on the way, you'll be successful. At least that's what I believe.
So starting in the beauty industry at like 20 years old, it just came naturally. I didn't do anything special. I just had a talent and clients came. And then transitioning to real estate, it just kind of came because I had merged the two together. So I already had a clientele which supported the real estate business. And now it's like, okay, I have these passions. I'm starting a nonprofit myself for the youth. And I don't even talk about it that much because that's really where my passion is driven now. But I'm like still struggling with the how. I have my why and my motivation and everything. And so I'm linking with other organizations and like getting out of that mind frame of I have to do this all by myself.
Right.
Because that's been my biggest struggle. Like I have to know how to do everything. So when you said the technician and what was it?
The entrepreneur and the manager,
it's like, okay, I have the idea. I know that how I want to do it, but I don't know how to get there. So now I got to build the team.
Yes.
I'm rambling, but
No, you're not.
it's
You're not.
like,
I think a lot of people can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You were going to say something, Ebony?
I was just saying you go a lot farther with a team because you have different skill sets, different backgrounds, different ideas. So
yeah, and with something as passionate as what I'm trying to do, it's hard finding people that have that same passion that want to link with, because it's pretty deep what I'm trying to do with the youth. And so that's the other part, because I don't want somebody coming on and they're not as passionate as what I'm trying to do.
So I don't know if you remember, but I used to own a pageant system here back in 2015, 16, and 17. The reason why I sold a license was because I couldn't find those people in my group to help me build that. The concept, the intention was great. It was to rise up the young ladies beyond just beauty, but their brains, their their health, all that. But it takes a certain type of person to run something like that because it is passion driven. If you don't have the team in place, I had to measure. Although I love it and I wish it would have worked out, I had to decide what am I going to do with that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this, and this is going to be with all due respect, right? Because I feel like we're all ladies that have our hands in a lot of different pots. I think when we find something that we really want to do, you have to become laser focused. And I think that this is a big mistake that a lot of people who are entrepreneurially driven, just innately, if that's their thing, they get started on too many different things. It's like, okay, write them all down, put a list of everything that you want to do, right? But it's about saying, what is the one that I can focus on right now until I can build it and build the momentum that is needed for me to move on to the next thing and the next thing. So the thing is, if I go and start a business that requires people to be on my team, they're going to need me as a leader to be available. But if I'm all over the place because I've got this business over here and this over here, and it's hard to get people to be with you when they don't see you that way. And I'm not insinuating with your business.
Yeah.
But like you said, you're doing lending, you're doing fitness, you've got this thing. I've done the same thing where I've had coaching, I'm doing real estate, I'm doing the casino. So it's like if I have a real estate client as an example, If they know that I'm over here and then over here, sometimes even though I will give them the undivided attention, that is not the perception. And so when we come into things, and this is why the compelling why has to be very important. You can absolutely scale yourself as a business, but you have to make one efficiently working. And it's about knowing the timing of it all.
Yeah, the timing
right?
was off for me, for sure.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's like the timing and the dedication you're going to put into work and knowing when to hire. Because that's the key.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because you can hire prematurely. I need this person. Like I have resources. You know, I have a corporate job where I was making a nice amount of money. So I had disposable money to do this and that. But as many times as I put money into all these things, I was literally bankrupting myself, so to speak, because I wasn't really ready. I wasn't timing even the hire correctly. And we can get into a whole show on really how to map it out and build it out.
And just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean you need to go into business about it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's very, very true. So I want to go on to the next point really quick is the resilience and the persistence, right? No matter your gender, entrepreneurship is challenging and full of uncertainty. With the heavier responsibilities where women carry and the slowdown in career momentum that often comes with having children, the challenge is made by even more, I'm reading terribly today. The challenge is made even more complex. Yet millions of women build businesses due to their resilience and perseverance. In business, nothing good comes easy. To succeed, you must work hard and persist in what you want. Persistence is necessary to grow as a businesswoman. And that is the key. One thing I can say for me, and I'm going to circle back to the coaching thing because it's getting momentum now, right? I'm at a position now where I feel more comfortable to burn the boat, so to speak. But one of the things that I feel that is persistent is just being consistent, right? If I say this is the business I want to do, it is daunting if you think about the big picture that you have in your mind. You have to reverse engineer it. So I'm going to give a really silly example. When I was EMT, right, a medic or whatever, it was ABC, basic skill, airway, breathing, circulation, right? So if I had a patient, there was no point in me checking their circulation if I didn't make sure their airway was open. So I could learn all these advanced skills, you know, trach person and, you know, all kinds of apparatus and drugs and things that we could give as an advanced EMT. But at the end of the day, it was about doing the basic skill. When you go up to a person, you just need to make sure that their airway is open. And I think so they can breathe. It's the same concept when we're trying to do stuff. You got to kind of simplify it and say, okay, what's the first thing I can do?
Yeah.
And just take that step. Because I believe that every step that you take, it will show you what the next thing needs. The need will pop up. Would you kind of agree to that when you started your thing?
Yes. For me, the first thing was to just start. I kept talking about it, researching, taking courses, and I was like, you need to just jump and start and get going. So yes, I definitely agree.
And
with
failure
that.
is not a bad thing. I think sometimes that's just how we learn. We have to
I
fail
think
forward.
it's necessary.
Fail forward.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's a necessary
Absolutely.
evil.
Yes. And as long as you're failing forward and you're not getting stuck in that failure, you
right.
know, that's the challenge. I think some people think, well, it didn't work out. It's not going to work out ever. But that's not, you know, if you have that drive, that pull, that, you know, ability, that desire, then I say keep pushing forward. Be relentless, right?
Because it's about it's about your mindset about failure. You know, I even tell my son, fail often.
Yeah.
Because that means you're trying.
Yep.
You cannot see failure as something bad or you'll never try to do something. But the failure is always going to leave clues on what didn't work. Like you said, you went in, you did the pageant thing, your intention was clear, what you wanted, but then you were like, I couldn't put the team together or the timing was off. And so is that a fail? No, it's understanding fundamentally.
It's not right now.
You
is
have
what
to
was
be
what
so
was.
intentional with what was the purpose in the failure. I learned to embrace failures in life. Like I'll be like, I'm hurt, I messed up. You know, I'll call myself whatever. And then it's like, okay, I learned this. And I'll literally tell myself exactly what I learned through that process. So I know the next time, very intentional about that. I try not to ever get into a mode of where because, you know, depression will set in when you fail and you're like, oh my God, I ruined my life. And it's like, life is
Great,
good. I'm
yes.
still here.
What's the lesson?
Right?
What chapter is this
What
that
did
I'm
we
learning?
learn
Yeah.
from this? How do we
Yeah.
take and grow from this? There's
for
always
sure.
an opportunity to grow in everything.
Amen.
So be very intentional about your failures.
Yeah. Let's go to the next one real quick here. Intuition.
Mm.
Women possess a strong sense
I
of
know.
intuition. In addition to using facts and data to guide their decisions, strong female leaders can also tap into their intuition for guidance. Intuition is often what guides them through the ups and downs of business. Women are also adept at reading their teams and spotting potential trouble spots. Using this skill, they can build loyal teams of employees who feel valued and understood. And there's another side on empathy, but this also goes hand in hand with being empathetic. And I think this is what makes us as women really strong business people, because we have the nature and the nurture in us, right? And we have intuitive skills that we tap into. And so I think when we are, now again, mind you, if you're just starting a business, like you're starting your skincare line, it's a sole proprietorship. You're doing it on your own. But eventually there's going to be a team that's going to have to be built. And understanding your team and being intuitive about the ebbs and flows, the highs and lows of that team, it's a demonstration of leadership. And in order for us to be entrepreneurs and have a business, we also have to have a very strong leadership skills. Anybody want to kind of speak to
And
that?
know where you're going with that too. You can't lead the team if you don't have direction and organization and structure, and all that. Sometimes that comes as you go and you build it, because we don't always have, here you go, it's all organized. We have to build that. And then I think through that process too, we start to learn whether or not we're in alignment with what we're supposed to be doing, or maybe there's another turn in that process that we learn where we're going.
Anybody else? I feel like personally it's very important to also trust your intuition, right? If you are going into a business, trust self, know when to take a breather and to take a pause, know when to, because sometimes we are so, for
It's hard,
example,
yeah.
for example, for me, like doing the podcast and wanting to put it onto audio things and what have you. I'm using this as an example. It was so technical and so overwhelming for me that I kept messing up, and then trying to learn edits and things like that. And I'm like, I'm not in a position yet to hire someone to do that for this business, right? I know that I could pay for it, but it doesn't make sense for my business. And I have to get into the practice of making it make sense for my business. So right now, as it stands, this is something that I have to learn. Now, in that process of learning, I became overwhelmed because it's just a lot. And then what happens is I just want to throw in the towel. I'm done. I can't do this. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. But doing what I'm doing is not getting me to the next stop. So understanding, Lorraine, you have to take a break. You're overwhelming yourself, and having that
your growth.
that listening to that feeling inside of me saying, you got this. Just take a break and pause, and giving myself a pause. And again, we're going to circle back to what Ebony said, finding people in mentorship. So what I said, take a break. We'll get a glass of wine or something, relax, girl, and then go circle back and call some people, look some stuff up, read some information. Because I kept trying to do the same thing over and over again. And it ended up being just something slightly different that it was like the simplest thing. Anyways, I'm rambling, but you're going to say, Ebony, about trusting your intuition. Well, how do you feel about that?
Oh, very strongly, because I feel like your past experiences, things that you may have seen and didn't even consciously take note of it, it's all in you. And so when you have something telling you go left or go right, your intuition, I think you should definitely listen, pay attention, even if you have to take a pause, think about it, wait it out, make a move the next day, because things are revealed to us in lots of different ways. And most of the time we're too busy to even recognize what's going on. So sometimes we have to take a break, listen, spend some time, meditate, and just let things come to you so that you can know which decision to make and how to move forward.
And how important would you say the intuition would be when it comes to actually, because you have a team, correct?
It's a small team, but it's a team.
But how important is your intuition then for you to select who's on your team? Do you feel like that plays a good an important role in that?
Yes. And my thing is like how everyone jives together, the resources that they bring, the knowledge that they bring, to fill the gaps that we have within the team. So I always make sure that, all of those pieces of the puzzle kind of fit, and that we can get things done in a timely manner and still be, a great team.
Absolutely. Love that. All right, so I'm gonna go to the next one. I'm sorry, were you gonna say something?
No,
Carmen? Okay,
we're
let's go to the
short
next
on
one.
time.
Yeah. So adaptability, taking action is essential, but a deep understanding should inform it of your customers. I'm still not reading good today. Your industry and your market. Women leaders are curious and open to new ideas. Adaptability well enables us to see changes coming for the business, which is especially important in this age of high-speed change driven by technology. I think this is probably one of the things that overwhelm a lot of us when we want to start a business. Particularly when it comes to marketing the business, right? So even if I have let's say I'm really good at baking something and I want to open up a bakery. Okay, that's the technician. Now I got to find a brick and mortar and then I, a place that has ovens, and there's some logistics that I have to figure out, right? And that's not as daunting as how are people even going to know I exist? How am I going to get the customer to me? What social media platforms do I need to use? How am I going to market this business in a world that seems so saturated? And having that adaptability. And again, it goes back to educating yourself and learning. So one of the things for me, for example, with social media, I realized recently, after exhausting myself, is that it's not required for you to be on every single social media platform, putting as much energy into it. Yes, you want to have a presence to your business, of course, right? And people are going to go and check and this and that. But find one lane that you really are familiar with and stick to that lane. You can have links to go to your other things, but if you get momentum with one and the marketing is working and you can find your clientele there, use that as your momentum to keep going. I think we really, truly overwhelm ourselves with this part of it.
Because there's always something to learn.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise out there. And to that point, I think just keeping your attention on what's important now and then building on that is you're selling a product. Let's have the product sustained first and ready to go. Then we can tell the world what it is. But wherever you're building it, build it and then build the legs around that. To your point, whatever social media platform that may be that you feel is successful for you, then keep going there. But now we have TikTok, we have this, we have that.
It's so
You know,
much.
I know I need to learn all that stuff.
It's about reverse engineering too. It's like, what is my business? Understanding what your mission statement is, your why, what's your compelling reason. You're not looking to reach the masses, so to speak. You're looking to reach the people who have the same essence as you do.
Avatar. Yeah.
Right? That's really what marketing is. Again, there's another great book out there that I have references called The Purple Cow by Seth Godin. And he talks about this, but how do you get people to know your business? Well, number one, are you a product or are you a service? What side of it? Because when we can reverse engineer what it is we're trying to do with our business, then we can break that down fundamentally. But you need to know what the essence of your business is and what's linking you to the why. And then when you're marketing, you're going to speak to that all the time because there's a lot of you out there, right? If I know that I'm coaching mindset because I believe mindset is what gets you to that next level by changing your mind, I like to believe there's a lot of people who are curious about that, who want to, and I can speak to it from a point of reference because I've been through the mindset shifting in order for me to get to certain places in my life, as well as I've been through certain mindsets that have got me where I don't want to be. But I am now clear of that. And so that's what I teach. That's the essence of my business. And I think when we can really hone in, I'm not just baking pies. This is mama's apple pie, or this is whatever. I'm not just doing hair, like Madam C.J. Walker. There was a compelling reason why she started that business. And when you believe in something, we brand all the time. I'm wearing this bright red lipstick, right? If someone asks me, let's say it's a color stay, and someone says, oh God, your lipstick's been on all day, I will advertise the hell out of this business all day long, right? And it's not even my own. If you believe that your business works, you should be able to talk about it all the time like you do everything else.
Zig Ziglar said something like that. If you believe in your product and service, it's a disservice if you don't.
You will
something
find
like
your
that.
clients.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yeah.
If you follow, if you're consistent and you stick to it, and again, like we have those imposter syndrome where I make it, but if you believe in it, if it encompasses who you are and you're integral about that business, then your clients will find you.
Yep.
Yeah,
They
and there's
will.
nothing wrong if you feel imposter syndrome. It's overcoming that. Like we all feel certain things. Just because you feel it doesn't mean you're not in the right place. It's just really, breaking that down and revealing what that is for you and surrounding yourself by people that have been there and done that.
I think everybody starts. So you are an imposter
Exactly.
in the beginning. So you have to just be able to embrace that and understand your capabilities and what your why is and how
But
hard
we're not
you
really
want to go with
imposters
it.
because
I was
we're
just gonna say
individuals.
that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean like
But you're using it because we're using the word,
exactly.
yeah.
I get it.
So you're starting, so you haven't made it yet. So you kind of gotta like.
But there's
at the
nobody that's you.
No,
There's nobody
there's
that's
not.
me. There's nobody that's Lorraine. We may have the same ideas, but we bring our own secret sauce to everything
Right,
we do.
right.
And as long as we can stay focused on that,
Everybody needs to
Yes.
build their own confidence
sure.
when you step out into something new.
So I want
At your time.
Ebony to. I'm going to let her go because I know she has a meeting to go to, and then we'll continue the last few bullet points because I don't want you to be
No,
stressed
that's fine.
out.
Thank you.
Listen, she's a very integral woman about her business. So we're going to continue the conversation. We have a couple more bullet points, but we are going to have Ebony say some closing speaking points. I'd love for you to come back on the show because I want us to kind of really expand on burning the boats and what that
Yes.
looks like and really talk about that. So Ebony, before you take off, what are some things for people out there who are wanting to start, women in business who are looking to start a business? What would you share with them as far as your personal experience?
Yep. So for number one, I'm just going to go back to the first point is integrity. When you have integrity, yes, your clients will find you, but your clients will bring you other clients.
Absolutely.
And that's the best that you can have, the word of mouth. I'll just personally, when we have events, the past vendors, the past clients, they're reaching out to us before we even start to advertise. They knew the month of October was coming. And it was like, hey, where is the event? So I'm just saying, like, take your time, do your research and stuff, but absolutely start, have the integrity, build your team, organically. Don't just go out there trying to run and just grab everyone, and make sure it's a good fit and have fun because life is short, and do
Yes.
something that you love, and your passion will bring the money. So those are
I
my
love that.
tips.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you, Ebony, for
Thank
coming.
you.
Again, she's a SAS Productions LLC. So for those of you that are looking to do event planning or what have you, get in touch with Ebony. She is an integral woman. She speaks what she says, and her events are beautiful and they're
Thank you.
amazing, and they're always supported by good causes. So if you guys are looking to start an event, I'm actually going to be hitting her up on my own.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
Get
check
in
you
touch
out.
with
Yes.
Ebony Cleveland, and thank you, Ebony, for
Thank
coming
you.
on the show.
Thank
I know
you
you
for
got to
having
go.
me. Yes.
I look forward to having you again. Okay, so Miss Ebony had to leave us. She is literally doing an event this coming Sunday, and she's got a lot of things going on. So I was just grateful that she graced us with her time. She's got a lot of valuable nuggets. But let's continue the show. Let's go on to the next bullet point, please. Communication skills. So communication and leadership go hand in hand. Women are not only good at speaking, they're also generally good at listening and hearing as well. Communication goes beyond talking. Women have an innate ability to perceive body language and feelings. Having a deep understanding of what drives people, women are excellent motivators for their team. I happen to believe that this is very true when it comes to business. Now, in my personal life, my significant other would not agree. He's like, yeah, she's a communicator, but she don't listen. I'm just kidding. But this is very important. And I feel like because I worked in, my career was mostly in corporate America. I worked in a corporate environment that was definitely dominated by the male, gender. And it was difficult really connecting to the leadership there and feeling motivated towards the end of my career because of the leadership. And there's a thing called the Peter Principle. Have you all heard of this before? So the Peter Principle is when, and I mean this with all due respect because I'm mentioning my former employer, is when people are hired to the level of their incompetence.
I have heard of that.
So, and it's very frustrating because especially when you're working in an environment where there's a sales force, there's a sales team. And what happens is you'll sometimes get people who are very good in production and producing and doing sales. And because of those numbers, they're often put into positions of leadership and they just don't know how to manage a team. And I do, and this is not to be biased against men, but I happen to really truly believe that women just have a better natural ability to be team leaders because we have that ability to listen and to communicate and to be empathetic. Another frustrating thing about being in those environments is as a woman, when you are strong-willed and you have tenacity, the men can be that way. And again, I'm not trying to bash men, but it's just a reality from experience. And men could be that way. And they're perceived as strong and, assertive men. Whereas us as women, when we're that way, we're looked at as like bitches, or we're hard asses, or we're difficult. And it's very, very frustrating to experience those things when you're in a corporate environment and you're trying to move up. And so this is what's beautiful about entrepreneurship as being a woman and being the one in charge, is that I get to build that team and be the nurture to the team and have that tenacity and have that assertion, but also do it in a way that I can build and lift people up. Because I really, truly believe that if you're a strong leader, you have to be an advocate for the people that are underneath you and your team.
For me, I've always just worked for myself. I don't have these experiences of like corporate America. Like I started doing hair at 20 years old, and I worked in an environment full of women or men that were feminine. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like this ego male woman thing. So now in life, doing real estate, I didn't understand, like, people are really that mean. Like when I first got into doing real estate, I'm like, oh my God, I thought we're all for each other. Here I am, Miss Naive. And so learning those things, that like what it is to really become a leader in a business, and hearing stories that you share from corporate America, because I don't have those experiences. So surrounding myself with people that are doing those things that level up people, like you always talk about. I guess the way I can relate to people starting business is probably just, like I said, not having those experiences. So I'm really green to it. So my challenge is just understanding how to be assertive enough, because I'm so used to doing my own thing. I don't really like managing people. I feel like people should be able to motivate themselves. So I have to learn those fundamentals too. And I'm just, I always want to be transparent with things. That's my growth. So if people are intimidated by starting businesses, no, you're not alone in that. You know what I mean? Like, these are things we have to just learn. If we don't know them, we don't know them. So I think I'll be successful in it, because I am an assertive person. I'm just used to being a self-motivator.
That's perfect.
So
that's perfect.
You know what I mean? So my understanding is, like, you should just be able to motivate yourself and go to work.
Then you'll select your team accordingly.
Right.
It depends on how big your team may be. I feel the same as you. Listen, you're choosing to do it, but not everybody. That's their integrity.
Right.
That's what that is. Or to her point, sometimes you put people in positions because they're good at this thing, but they're not good here. Then you learn what that is. And, unfortunately, it happens more than we like. But it just really depends on your path. You may not experience that.
Yeah.
Maybe you may, and that's where you kind of take that in. But I like the fact that you're clean to that. In other words, you'll learn as you go.
I've never had to clock in to make money. So I've always clocked in for myself to make money. But I was so much just an entrepreneur, not really not understanding the business aspect of everything. So I think that's where my struggles lie now. It's like, I know how to do the job. I know how to make money. But it's like, how do I turn it into a business?
Right. And I think that's actually a really good point, because I think that is what overwhelms and daunts a lot of people when they want to start a business, is that they have the idea. And again, I'm referencing E-Myth. It's a great book to read about this. But they have the technical skill of doing the job. Usually that's how a lot of people start businesses. They just have the technician side of them. It's something they love to do. But really understanding running a business in any aspect. And again, I'm going to circle back to being realtors, since we all work in that industry. For me, as an outsider getting in, when I first got into real estate, I worked in the casino business for a long time. And although I worked for a corporation and I made a salary, my production was based on how I operated myself as a separate entity. I had to look at my business not about me producing numbers. It was like, how do I make this a business that I can scale? And so for me, I had to look and understand, what does it mean to run a business? I needed to learn terms like P&Ls and quarters and understand numbers and break those numbers down, so that way I really understood where my business was lacking and where it could grow. And I think, again, when you surround yourself with the proper leadership, like you guys were mentioning that, to be your own, kind of like your cheerleader. I'm going to kind of be the devil's advocate here and say, yes, you have to be that first, but you can't do it you can't do that at a long. It's not sustainable.
Oh no.
Because what happens is we again, this is where it has the humility and the willingness to say, I don't know. When you're your own cheerleader, sometimes you can run out of dust.
Well, being self-motivated doesn't mean we don't need help of others.
Right.
Yeah, self-motivated. That
Yeah,
was the word,
it's
yeah.
just that I don't need you to tell me to move forward because I have that drive inside of me already. Some people need accountability in order to move one foot in
Right.
front of the
Yeah.
other. I can take accountability because I'll take it as criticism that's either good or bad or I'll dismiss. But to grow a team,
Right.
I think that's the point we were trying to
Right,
make. It
right.
depends on who that team is and how big the team is. Corporate America is tough. We all know that. There's
Right.
politics. And when you're even as an entrepreneur, there's politics. Is how do we want our business to be ran and how big do we want it? You may be okay just having it this way, and maybe you're delegating a family member or, putting somebody. So there's all different ways to look at it.
Don't do business with family.
Yeah, no.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's-
kind of.
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I mean-
but kind of. Yeah. No, but I'm sorry. But okay, we're being grandiose, right? We're
Yeah.
talking about teams, right? Let's just talk about. Let's scale it back. Let's just say I want to be an entrepreneur. I have a business idea. You're not going to go into the idea with a team. So I kind of want to scale it back
Okay.
because we keep talking about these team things, and I think that can demotivate a lot of people who are listening.
Or partnership,
even,
right?
even in it, like skincare, I really just stumbled across. I was like looking at my face like I'm getting old and paying all this money for products, and I just started doing research on essential oils and natural products, and it was like, oh, this is really nice. And then getting my hands in it and liking how it feels, and I like the results. And now it's like I'm selling skincare.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, it's just me, but I'm like, I enjoy doing it. I feel like it's serving a purpose. I feel like it's healthy. You know, your appearance is the first thing people see. So I find purpose in it. And now I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do this. So
Right.
it wasn't something that I thought about a long time, but I'm at the beginning stages where it's just me. So how do I get from just me? What would be the next step to build it bigger?
And I think so to answer
If
your
we're talking about
so to
something
answer your
small.
question, right? And so okay, so to me, like I'm just going to use
Yeah,
your
yeah.
exact thing. So she says, "All right, I stumbled into this thing. I really am enjoying this. I'm trying these things. I'm getting results, right? So what would be the next thing? Her next step was, well, how do I get people to know that this exists? So now there's a lot of platforms, right? When we look at ourselves, we have to see ourselves as a resourceful person. So if I see myself and I say I have an idea, but I need to find the resources, and I'm a resourceful person, so I can find those resources, which is what she did. She used the platform Etsy, right? Now she's thinking, now what's the next thing? Oh, okay, well, now I need to label this, right? Her label is going to change over time,
I screwed
right?
him up the first time.
It just is. Same thing with me. Okay, I had a first I started off with just this word called life coach. I didn't even know what that was. So the first thing I did was start to research the word. What does this mean? You know, I know this is what I want to do. So let me digress. I know this is what I want to do. I want to help people, but I want to go to school to be a therapist. I don't want to be a therapist. So I started looking up things, and the word life coach popped up. I had never heard of the word. This is back in 2014. So now I'm looking, well, what does that mean? What does that entail? Whatever. That boom, a class pops up. I take a class, I get certified, right? It's like every idea that you have requires a next step. But you got to take the steps. And I think that's what I'm saying. Like when we're thinking about starting a business, now I had this idea and I was all over the place. I have to have a brand. I have to have a logo. I have to have this and this and that. And blah, blah, blah. No, I just have to have ideas and put them into motion. One idea to the next idea to the next idea. And you fine tune it and fine tune it and fine tune it. And at some point you have to say, what is this business going to cost me to really build it? And you reverse engineer that. So if it's going to cost me $100,000, let's say, to really get my thing going, then what can I do right now to capitalize on that, to
sustain
make
it, yeah.
that money? Right? And not even sustain. How do I make the money? How do I raise capital?
Right. And I'm hearing business planning too, maybe not as perfectly done, but I mean, you have to have some direction when you're building a business too. The product proof of concept, you just prove that with yourself. You give it to your friends and family, sell some on Etsy. But you know, here's the other side. You can grow really big and not have the ability to perform. So you want to prepare for that too, which is where having an idea of what do you want? Do you see it that big? Maybe not investing right away because you do have to scale. Otherwise you can fail financially, but then you fail forward if you choose to continue going. But that's what I hear when you say that.
You just have to be focused.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. Anybody, when I started my casino career, I started off working the floors and getting to know people and talking to people. If she wants a skincare line, she's got to be in people's face. So they got to see her skin. She's the billboard right now for her company, right? If I want to be a mindset coach, I have to do things and walk around. I'm building my brand by being who I am, by everywhere I go having an ability. And like you said earlier in the show, there were times when I wasn't comfortable integrating the worlds, right? I'm a life coach and I am a casino executive bringing in high rollers to the casino. That world doesn't mix. Or when I was doing real estate, I was doing it to invest my own properties, but at some point I wanted to sell property and I couldn't tell my casino clientele that I'm doing that because there was a conflict of interest. So it's a matter of saying, okay, all of these things can work together. I can find ways to make it work together, but I have to find the one thing that I'm going to focus on that's going to be the driving point of that. She mentioned she wants to do nonprofit as an example. Nonprofit is not the easiest thing to monetize. So if you really are passionate about doing your nonprofit, which I know that she is, you got to find the thing that you can capitalize on. So when you branch off, you can start that nonprofit. So you create your for-profit first so you can make the money to do your nonprofit. Because it's hard to focus on too many things at once.
You know what the
you get
acronym
lost.
means? Acronym for focus?
What?
Follow one course until success.
Exactly. 100%. I love
Yes.
that. Love that. So
Yeah.
let me go to the next bullet point because we only got a couple more minutes here. Empathy, we kind of talked about it already. Women are socially conditioned to be more empathetic. We naturally serve as caretakers and peacekeepers. The upcoming generation values spending time with their family and their mental health more than their predecessors. And they look for, I'm sorry, can you put that back? And they look for employers who understand their unique circumstances. Employers can create loyal employees by connecting on an emotional level. And I know, again, we're talking about team building and things like that, right? But it's essential that when people are looking to start a business, when you're getting ready to expand that business, really truly understand the essence of your business. And you hear people say, well, you got to write a mission statement and and things like that. But it's the reason why you do that is because it gives a stamp to who this business is and what it stands for. And if you can understand that, then you can explain that to your team. You can create a culture within your business. And I think that that's an incredibly important thing when you're at that level of expansion is what is the culture here? This is family. These people are working with me, especially when we're starting off and it's a mom and pop and it's a small little business. Now, these people have to be like family to me. They have to feel like I care, and you need to care. So, like you were saying earlier about it, it's hard for me. I feel like everybody should be self-motivated. Not everybody is. So when you're building a team, and you've got people, let's say your next step is to have a sales force. People go out there and sell your product for you. Not everybody's going to be self-motivated. So you got to know how to have the empathy of being around people who are not like you.
Well, I understand that that's my strength.
Yeah.
So it would be a good leadership quality because I'm a self-motivator, so I don't need somebody to motivate me. I can motivate them. So it's understanding your capabilities too and really defining who you are.
And understanding who they are, what's their why.
Yeah.
That way you can help them reach. If you help other people get to their goals, they'll help you get to your goals. I think that's just reciprocity in life. At least that's my belief. It's an energy exchange. And it happens to be with the right people. And sometimes it takes a minute, or sometimes the right people are there. You just need to help them find their way. And that's the journey that we're on. There is no 100% direct.
Your
We gotta
business
figure it
and
out.
every business is rinse and repeat.
Yes.
Right. And so in order for me to create that, I have to first figure it out as I'm building it myself. Like with me, tapping into real estate as an example and wanting to really build a team. I'm clear. I'm like, I don't want to be a single agent. I'd rather have a big team. I want to build a big team. So I'm clear on that, right? I have clarity on that. Or with my coaching, how do I see it? So, again, I'm just trying to get people to kind of scale the thing down so it's not so overwhelming. Write it all down. Put a cluster. Like, this is the thing that I really want to do. Then just vomit on the page on everything that you that you can see yourself doing with that thing. Okay, so for example, I want to build a coaching platform. What does that look like as a coach? Well, I want to speak publicly more. I want to continue. I want to do a podcast. I want to have one-on-one sessions. I want to do workshops. Write it all down, how that business looks, right? Then I say to myself, what is the one thing right now in that business that I can do as a hobby first? Because your business starts off as a hobby, okay? Before you become a profession, before you become an influencer, before you become a brand. And you have to understand the steps in that. So now as a hobby, what can I do with the business? So my hobby was podcasting. I could sit in my house with a phone and a microphone and speak. And that led me to being in a studio. It started off as a hobby, okay? for me to monetize that is going to the next level, which is a profession. There's a girl I'm following right now named Danielle Leslie, and she talks about this in her courses. So I don't want to plagiarize her information. But the next thing is professional. Professional means now you can monetize that business. You have to understand the steps that it takes. So now I'm going to be a professional, which means I'm monetizing the business. Right? So now I've had a coaching session. How do I monetize? Do I want to do a workshop or do I want to do one-on-one? So now I get to decide which one. And it's about breaking it down and figuring out what the next step is. So for me personally, because I did one-on-one, I'm very selective who I have one-on-ones with. So I'd rather do workshops. Okay, how do I put a workshop together? And then you go down that rabbit hole. And then at some point you become an influencer, right? So Mike stayed consistent with the hobby, which was the podcast. That created a scalable business now because I have a following. So now people recognize me. That's when you become an influencer, and that's when I can finally make it a brand. But those are the steps that we have to take, and I think we get
in your business model.
I think all business
all
models.
business
Well, if
models
it's a
are-
service, sometimes people don't care that you know who they are. That's creating.
Maybe the
you
word
know.
influencer or something
It's
might
just
be
a
taken out,
buzzword,
but
yeah.
it's like. It's
But
the
what I'm
same
saying
process.
is your business at a point of recognition is what I'm saying. When you're an influencer, you're at a level of recognition. So what I'm saying, like for you, you wanted to start a fitness coaching program, right? It started off with you being a fitness person for yourself. And it was a hobby. It was something you did. You had your career, whatever, but it's something you did. And eventually it led you to making it a profession. You're bringing on clients. You're making money. You're monetizing, right? And at some point you became a brand. Your time to be fit coaching. Right. So that was where you started getting recognition. People, word of mouth was getting out there and you're getting clients and referral business. Then you could make that a brand. Now, okay, with your time to be fit coaching, I'm going to go into pageants. I'm going to go into this. So it's understanding the tier
umbrella,
that
yeah.
you're in and not skipping steps. And being okay with that process. I know I'm rambling, but
No, you're right. And also understanding the season that you're in right now at that time. Because again, with that business, for me, I could turn it on and off if I choose to. Wherever my focus is, I can grow it. I have online things. I went away from one-on-one to do groups. And then from there, I went online and I created an ebook and I did this and that and the other. But that wasn't what I wanted to do in another season of my life, but I kept that going. So if I change directions, I can turn that back on if I choose to. I think that's what's beautiful about having your own business.
Yeah.
As long as the integrity stays within that business and you continue to let people know, hey, I'm still here. I may not be as loud as I was before because my focus at this time of my life is in another place, but that doesn't go, my business doesn't close because of it. I just decide how I want to run my business.
That's the
in that
beautiful
season.
thing about having your own business. You can do whatever the hell you want to do.
I disagree with both of you. I think that you guys are treating the business like it's a hobby. I think you can turn it on and turn it off. But if you really want to make it a business, you got to go through the ups and downs, the highs and lows, and the peaks and valleys. To turn it on and turn it off is not running a business.
Well, I've turned it on for a long time. I've already made a lot of money in my
Well,
business.
then you had an
Yeah.
exit strategy, right?
But it's still there. I didn't close it. Is
Right.
my point.
Well, what I mean is that I could have a Blockbuster sitting on the corner and nobody's coming in it. It's not a business any longer if it's not doing anything.
Well, it goes to
I'm sorry. Let me let you finish. Yeah.
it goes to like, okay, like you want to run a team with real estate. I don't care about running a team
Right.
with real estate. I'm cool with what I'm doing now, and I do well for doing what I do now. I don't have to let that business go, but I can have a focus somewhere else. It's still going to be there. It doesn't mean.
But
it's
when
not a
we talk about the
business.
word business,
It doesn't mean it's not a business.
it isn't a business if it's not
We're
running.
talking about entrepreneurship.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I could take every business when it's running and there's an operations
Depends on
behind
how
it.
much money you want to make. How do you want to scale it? You know, I get to write it
Yeah.
off
I mean,
every
you
year.
could shut
know?
it down and put it to
Right.
the side, is what I'm saying. But it's not a business in that place. It's just a placeholder or something. When it's a business, there's an operation behind it. It's working, it's running, it's generating revenue. This is the terminology. This is the definition of a business.
Well-
So you can call it a business, but it isn't a business if there's no operations behind it. Right. And it's okay if you decided I want to shut the business down, but you got to know that the business is no longer. It may be on the sidelines. You may want to revisit it at some point, but it isn't currently a business. It's just a concept. It is not a business unless it's working and you're operating in that business. And that's okay.
Unless you create residual, which is what I've done. Every
Yeah.
month I'm creating residual off a business that I already made.
Well,
So and I
right.
can go back and turn it on and create more if I wanted to.
Right,
Whether it
if
be
you wanna
time
scale
exchange
it.
or if it be more online presence or if I create another course. I mean, there's other things I can do to add to that.
Right.
But it's still running itself for right now.
Right.
So it's still, I mean, I pay taxes on it. You know, it is revenue
Right.
driven, but
Okay.
it's not as it's not, that's not my
not the
focus right
forefront.
now.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I
but
understand.
I could. So there's that idea too. So again, this leveraged me to do that. Well, I'm not going to let this go. And that's a beautiful thing about the country we live in.
Well, that's
even.
what I mean. I mean, when you're running and you're making residual income, that's a whole different conversation. But if you're just like, I don't want to do it anymore, then it's a concept. It becomes a concept. It's no longer a business.
Right.
But if you're actually generating revenue and you've gotten to a point where you can leverage it and it's making money on its own, then yeah, that's a business. And you can use that to leverage on something else. And you're right. We're at a place where we can open up other entities, and also understanding business has an exit strategy. If you really create a business plan, at some point you should also have an exit strategy to get out of that business, because we're not static here. Sometimes branding and scaling means moving on from the business, right? And that's okay too. So I know we've got like maybe a couple more minutes.
This is good.
Let's go to the next one. A strong support system. It's common for successful women to support their female counterparts. I'm so out of it. Champion.
She just got back from Mexico, everybody. Give her a break. Give her a break.
Champion women in the workplace and help others ascend to the corporate ladder. Women are less likely to be lone wolves or leaders of the pack, lending themselves naturally to helping others. As women, we must support each other and strive for recognition and support in our local communities, online and in our industries, by influencing decision-making and systemic change. And here's the thing I want to say really quick on this is women are not really good at supporting one another. In some senses, we really are, but we can be very catty and cutthroat when it's the same business. And we challenge each other and we compete against each other, and sometimes in a very volatile way. And I think women could do a better job at being more supportive of one another. We're very competitive with each other, and I think sometimes we can get a little catty in business. Not always, not always. And but I feel like in certain things that women always want to be like the alpha female in the room, so to speak, instead of banding together and coming together and really supporting one another.
I'm going to challenge that maybe because that's my mind. There's a lot of people that do the same thing as me, and I support each, because nobody's me and nobody's them. So when we build our clientele, unless they're doing something intentional to take away, then that's something else. But I think we need that. And so
100% we
I
need
think
it.
being that example will attract that example back in. But to your point earlier on, yeah, because it's something new, I need to make sure I got mine before I'm going to support yours. And when you have it already, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing.
But that's growth and that's your mindset. But I'm saying a lot of times, at least in my personal experience, women can be really cutthroat with one another. They really can be at each other competitively if they're in the same industry. I see.
But are they in your circle?
I'm not talking about my circle.
Okay.
I'm talking about women banding together. You're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. Whether I'm let's use real estate as an example. I have a much better transactional flow a lot of times with men realtors than I do with females.
That's true.
They always have this thing that they need to prove something, and do you know who I am? And it's like, no, I don't. I actually don't really care. I'm just, we're here for the fiduciary duty of the client.
That's right.
But I'm not talking about my circle, of course.
Okay.
I feel like I'm very intentional about who I surround myself with, such as you women. But I'm saying outside of your tribe, there's even women that I've had in the past that I thought were friends and things like that, but they're just jealous, they're envious, and they can be haters.
Yeah.
We don't support each other enough in that, older women dealing with younger women coming in, they feel a little threatened by that, or younger women feeling intimidated by older women, and I can go on. And I'm not saying we don't have great support systems, and there's people who band together, women who band together with the intention. So there's a lot of events and opportunities and mingling that are set up for women empowerment, so to speak. And those women go on with that intention. But outside of those worlds, there is a lot of, I think we need to do a better job.
Yeah, just that's an individual thing. We just
competitiveness too.
Individually, we need to be better with that for each other.
Absolutely.
In the short.
Right.
But I've had experience with both, where women are very supportive and then where they're not. So
statistically speaking, in 2021, I think the number was 28% of an increase in women buying businesses. But we're still behind on that. For every 3 businesses, only 1 woman owns it. But we're coming up. We're moving up. And I love to see that. So we ran out of time. What was the last bullet point here? Oh, was it? Oh, perfect. So
Great.
yay.
Yes, good job.
Good, man. I was trying to get it in. So here are some great reads of mine personally that I've read that I feel like are really, really great books if you are really interested in being an entrepreneur. I had an entrepreneur once tell me, when you're an entrepreneur, you wake up every day unemployed. So you have to be comfortable with the fact that it is you and only you that is in charge of making that money. But there are so many resources. So The Power of Habit is a great, great read. Just in general. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, unbelievable. They also have a workbook. The E-Myth Revisited is a more up-to-date version of the book, which again is about the entrepreneurial myth. And The Purple Cow, which is a great book. Anything Seth Godin on marketing and how you can market your business. So there's a reference to the talk that I had. Again, thank you so much, everybody out there who is listening. Do not forget to hit the subscription button. And until next time, ciao.